Oh, is it working? Ah, there we go. Let's set this baby up. Groin in, babes. Oh my gosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, Monica number 5. One, two, three, four, five. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's die to the liquor store around the corner. The boy said they want some gin and juice, but I really don't wanna be buzzed like I had last week. I must stay deep, cause talk is cheap. I like Monica, 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 Monica. And as I continue, you know they get sweeter. So what can I do? I really beg you, Monica. To me, fighting is just like a sport. Anything fine, it's all good. Let me dump it, please set in the trumpet. A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Monica by my side. A little bit of Monica's all I need. A little bit of Monica's what I see. A little bit of Monica in the sun. A little bit of Monica all night long. A little bit of Monica, here I am. A little bit of you makes me your man. Monica number 5. Jump up and down and move it all around. Shake your hand to the sound. Put your hands on.
Honestly, I just really like this remix. It's a bop, though. Sirloin, hey! What up, Sirloin? From Key Cats. This is what I do now. I draw cats. Fun. Lime! Yeah, this is the one where it's just Monica. It's only ever Monica. Assuming it would be anything else is just ridiculous. I don't have my sound weird. I don't have my mouth man in. GG! Whoa! I finally decided, you know what? I'm gonna draw for myself today. Maybe I want to draw cats. Oh! Have fun, Slurpee. Hi, Squishy. Thank you. Well, hello everybody. There's a lot of people here. Monica, baby. Monica number 5, baby. And I draw her because she's very pretty. I'm gonna be real with you. I haven't played that game yet. I don't think I will. But if I do, going straight for Monica. I don't know, man. Scary, self-aware demon is cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, Monica number 5.
I don't have like a playlist, so I'm just gonna see if I can find something. Baby. Should probably have a drawing playlist, but I mean, why would I? Oh, that's me. I'm gonna read the... Also write some poems! Hello, everybody. Pudding Epidemic. What are we gonna listen to? Because I'm... My favorite video, Please Block Me, Unblock Me, UFO House is the best video ever. I love it so much. It makes me laugh. Hmm. Anybody got any music suggestions? Because I'm dumb as hell. Oh. Okay, well. Alright. A little bit of Monica in My Wife. A playlist from a musical. I don't know a lot of musicals other than, like, Little Shop of Horrors, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to be listening to... I know you are! I know you're the person who put me in there! Sorry! I got so excited when I saw that! You have no idea! I started, like, freaking out! Thank you so much! Heathers. I like Heathers. I have not even heard of Be More Chill. Stuck in the sand. Let's go. Wrong neighborhood. I can't listen to that song without jiggling, so. Stuck in the sand. Let's go. Oh, this one!
All of the races are different.
It's an ad for that movie with the orc. Okay, here we go. Is that okay? Can I draw your man? You wanna draw my little baby? Go ahead. Fuck you, Regger. I'll kick your dick off. Fuck you. Oh, I love Psy. I just prefer photos. Regger, you hetero freak. Do you know Dewey? I do not know Dewey, buddy. I'm dumb as fuck, dude. You should know. Regger, please. Not here. Aw, it's snowing still there? Hell yeah, bro. Lucky. It stopped snowing here a while back, but I love the snow. If it was snowing, I'd go out immediately, but I'm going out with some friends to get sushi later on, so I thought might as well do it now. I just took a screenshot from your video, I'm so sorry. I do like kitty cats. A fashion show? Really? What the fuck kind of fashion show were you watching? Let's see. It's recommending me, like, Shelter, and I can't listen to that song without crying for some fucking reason, so I can't listen to that. Oh, here we go. Perfect. I'm happy. I'm in a bag. I got sunshine in a bag. Hello, Creepychino. I love you. You've never seen snow? Who? Who from it? Who from RuPaul? If Kimchi was there, I'd cry. Because I love Kimchi. She's my favorite. I don't know what's wrong with faces today. Hold on. I'm just gonna fuck it. 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 Come on. Fuck it. Stupid ass cat faces look weird. Come on, cat. Come on. Stupid cat. Maybe I do need a reference. I thought I wouldn't today, but I guess I do. Alright, let's look up cat. Just cat. No, I don't want to look up Cattails. That game's fun, but no, I want to look up cat in general. There we go. There's a cat in general. Faces are hard, but they're very fun as well. Oh, Saturn's Barnes baby.
Mama burgers right now.
Mama burger baby.
250 mama burgers right now.
I'd buy a mama burger. I didn't mean to be doing anything like that. I'm sorry. Is this better? Is that better? Does that hurt your ears? I'm so sorry. I still haven't figured out, like, what the hell a microphone is. Yes, it is. Shut up. The boss. You're a nice cat. Like, I'm trying to draw cats, man. They're hard. They're weird. I really like Saturn Barnes because it had a haunted house and monsters in it, so it was basically like my exact favorite thing.
Loudest doorbell I ever heard. Looks like a fixer-upper.
Fuck you! You just said that as I got your fucking message. Fuck you.
Too welcoming, I say. Would it kill them to vacuum?
Should split up and take a look around.
Great idea, Russ. Always works out well in horror movies.
Back up, fix up. Raptor bar. The naked Murdoch. That was the scariest thing about it for me.
The bath! I tell you guys, I'm just gonna take a bath.
Watching it with like the 360 thing was honestly so fucking creepy. Half gay? Aren't we all in the end?
breakfast?
Oh, yeah. I got a real appetite.
Just a peppermint tea for me.
Let's see what else I got. I mean, what are you gonna do, man? Thank you for the nice cat. Oh, mystery skulls.
Got a minute? Not for me. For you.
Well, commercial.
Vino positive.
Slurp, slurp, bitch. Sorry if that was loud. I don't know how the mic really does things. I'm sure it's fine, though. Yeah, I was just listening to myself. I think it's a little bit better. I don't know. Tell me if it does that weird thing again, though. First setting? Oh! Is this better? Okay, so the brush setting I'm using, it's one of the default ones that comes with it. It's just the Chalk 11. Where is it? Chalk 11 pixels, yeah. It's my favorite one because it's like the most kinda. It's a good mix between digital and not digital kind of texture. I like it. I'll just do claws, kinda. It's got like a hand. No problem, man. Cart full of waters. gotta sit. Really? Hmm. That's cool. I like my line work to look sketchy. Like, kind of organic. Organic. Hey, a mini?
As far as I can tell, Elf used the wand, then magicked everybody up. That's not good. If this falls into the wrong hands, the whole world is in danger. I dare you to pull your gun, please.
Oh yeah, Metabang's really good.
We're gonna put an end to it. I gave her the bomb. Swipe left.
Just drinking my tea. I gotta take my morning pills, man.
Nah, man, too many bills to pay.
Alright. Oh, do I need a new little song? Oh, I don't. Oh, it was just a really long ad. Yeah, it was completely silent. That's kind of creepy, but whatever. Oh. Hell yeah, Audie. I keep seeing ads for that Bright movie. Has anyone here seen it? Well, hello. Airbrush is so relaxing to use. I don't use it a lot, but when I do, it's like, hell yeah, baby. Big mood. Sorry. Taking a sip. Animation tips. Okay, here's one. It's gonna sound super cliche. Trust me when I say, it took a while for me to figure out. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But, okay, animation-wise. There is no wrong way to animate. Like, I know, like, there's animation that looks bad. Yeah, but, any form, like, any type way you animate, if you, like, shine it up, kinda hone on all your skills on it enough, it'll turn out really, really unique and cool. Like, I don't know how to explain this, but, oh, we all had that. Whew. Like, I have a lot of perfectionist kind of problems, so whenever I was, like, animating or trying to animate, and I was like, oh, smear frames are great. How did I even see it? Well, it was just in my recommended, and I was like, woo? my god, you don't need to be. Honestly, my first animation ever was like this weird little orb bouncing up and down. It was just like 2 frames, but I loved it. It was like, yeah, honestly, I know there's a lot of people like, animation memes are lazy, but honestly, they're just so fucking great. I could go on about how much I love them for like an hour because just how great they are. You can do it wrong, yeah, but like, actually, I don't know. Like, they're practice. You're not making like a commitment by doing them. You're just having fun. You're making your own little stuff. People who like dude, your 1,000 of other OCs are good. Show me them. I need to see them. They're really good practice. They're great inspiration. They help a lot with aesthetics, kind of, because, like, you know how each... You are not obnoxious. I want to see your OCs, bro. Friend, show them to me. Hands are awesome. When they're disembodied, it's like, how you do that, bro? Oh no, baby, what is you doing? $10, hell yeah. I don't think you can put links in this chat. Let me see if I can change that.
What if your skin could light up the room?
I think you might be able to, I'm not sure.
Radiant Daily Moisturizer with active
Magic, magic, ooh, magic, magic. Maybe don't spam. Oh my god! I'm doing the Carmen meme right now! Oh gosh. I'm almost done it. I just have to finish the coloring, and then I need to do shading, then I need to edit it. Movement. There's one thing that I don't trust. It's people who make those cringe compilations. I do not trust those people because it's just like, what are you doing? Is this really what you're doing right now? Especially the ones that try to pretend they know something about what makes it. Accept it, Minnie. You're a cool dude. Oh my god, Audie! Yeah, you're a kind-ass jerk! Who do you think you are? You know! Get out of the shame's corner, get back here! Uh-oh.
Hi. Do you want to learn
Sure,
how to
bro,
draw
show it.
amazing art? Would you you like to learn how to draw straight out of your head and start wowing everyone around you, then this is your course on drawing, from beginner to
Let's
advanced.
take a look.
Drawing is the most sought after
So
skill
I
when
drew
it
a
comes
Oh my
to
god, there
learning
she
how to
is!
I really like it,
and the skill
and I
can be
really want to
yours
turn
with
this into a
course.
sticker.
The course
And
begins
I
with the
really
basics.
like it, and I
Take you
don't know
through
why I'm drawing
everything you need
11
to
so
know
much,
to
so
start
don't
drawing
ask
like
me.
an expert.
Aww.
Next, you'll learn all about the
It's adorable.
fundamentals
I love
of
it. I
drawing
love it.
and
I
how
love
to
it.
use them to create your own artwork. Once you've
It's a little
mastered the
11.
fundamentals, they'll jump right in and start drawing
It's Stranger
drawings,
Things
which is
11.
vital
What's she
if you
doing
want to be a
here?
skilled artist. Then I'm going to take
God, I
you
can't wait to go
through
get
how
sushi
create
today.
a
Ugh.
for your drawings. But that won't leave you with everything you need to know.
Actually, I'm
in
11,
order
so
to
shut the fuck-
create
sorry.
amazing drawings.
Hell yeah, bro.
So then I'm going to teach you how to draw the human face.
Yeah, your
as
voice is
well as the
adorable.
human
I
form.
love you.
And lastly, I've added a bonus section where I'll teach you how to draw animated figures step by step. The course is packed
I
with
love
over
Stranger
10
Things.
hours of clear content. Plus,
God, I
have
can't wait to finish the
100%
Carmen meme. It's gonna be so
full
fun.
of support throughout the entire course. So why am I sharing this with you? I'm Jason, a freelance illustrator and designer. When I was very young, I got a job at an animation studio because of my drawing skills.
You can, Pudding.
Drawing is the fundamental building
Can.
block of art and can open countless doors for you. My mission
Aw.
is to give you the skills to draw
You can
professional
screenshot
art.
it if you want.
We also offer a 100% no questions asked, money back guarantee. So, what are you waiting for?
I mean, you can send
Jump
it
on in and change
through
your
Discord,
art
because I mean, I'm in your
today.
server, but I think I am. Yeah, I think I am. If you ain't out here encouraging other people, what the hell you doing? Oh yeah, I'm in your, hold on. What is it? What is it called again? I know I'm in Ravens. I like joining little groups. They're fun. Well, I can find it again. Pretty sure I'm in it. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah, Kermit Shop, I'm in it. Yeah, I'm in here. I'll say something in the general. Croak general. I'll say ooh woo. Don't block me for saying ooh woo. Heh. It's 10:34 right here? I mean, yeah, it's 10:34. AM. What about you? Quack, quack. Runs! I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running. You. It's Taro. 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 Oh, I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it into my. Taro, it's 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 Taro, Taro. Thank you so much. 7:34. Ooh, it's early. Oh, you got a snow day. Hell yeah. Thank you, Pudding.
Hold up. No, I ain't too flawless.
That has a really good lip sync. You so much pudding. Me with tears in my eyes. How dare you? You will be destroyed at this pace. Clockwork, you got like a big reference of this dude, or I'll make sure I'm getting him right. I remember watched the Nightmare meme and I was like, fuck man, this is so creepy, it makes me shivery. And I read the description, I'm like, ah! That's really cool. I love that concept, man, you creative. God, it's Joe Biden. Oh, no problem, man. I feel ya. I'm using the. Okay. Now I have all I need. I just need to look at the animation again. Okay.
The next Lotto 649 jackpot is $5 million, plus the guaranteed $1 million prize.
Feel you glowing for the first time, glowing for the first time, glowing for the first time, baby. Feel you glowing for the first time.
Like this cat. Maybe they like it because you draw cool. Aesthetic, speed paint. Ooh. Ooh. It's lovely, dude. Oh, Tim put on. Sorry, just dissociated for a second. Oh gosh. Blue Edition! I love it! It made me laugh really hard when I first listened to it. Mama, mama, I'm a big fan of any. When I was young, I used to listen to creepypastas all the time, so I'd listen to the joke ones too, and they're really funny because they're just, you know. And when Living Goddamn Tombstone made a song about one, I was like, okay. I did watch the reading. I don't remember it very well because I was absolutely like watching it while I was drawing, but I mean, ooh, Mike. Yeah, I love creepypastas so much. Oh, I'm a big horror fan. It is really funny. Just stay away from my Game Boy Advance. Blue Edition. I love creepypastas. Oh, just any like horror thing. I hear it and I'm like, good, I need to listen to it now. Well, I know. That's nice. That's wonderful, dude. I did hear about that. Oh my god! Okay, I need to. I'm pausing this right now. I'm pausing the music right now because I have so much to say about that story. It's been making me fucking lose it. It's gonna be okay. Oh my god. Stories from a Search and Rescue Officer is my absolute favorite story ever. I listened to it like, I don't know, a week ago because I didn't know about it. I was like so fucking shocked by the end of it. I wanted more. And I was like, oh my god, I have to like look up who's the writer of this. And I'll show you right now what I found when I looked it up. Let me just edit my screen sharing software for a second. Screen capture, this little guy. Is this working? Oh gosh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Oh, wait, what am I doing? I know what I did, sorry. Yeah, there we go, there's a... Okay, well. Pen Pals was really good. I remember reading that, like, ages ago. But, oh, Pega, stay! But, oh my god. So I looked it up for the writer, and I found their, like, kind of homepage. And I was like, oh shit, so I went on it. It was on Reddit or whatever. And the first thing I see is a, hey guys, the rumors are true. My story about the stairs is coming to Channel Zero, which is a show I have been keeping up with. It's based on creepypastas. The first season was about Candle Cove, and I really like the show because it basically takes, like, it doesn't try to reenact the story. It kind of, like, gets its own little characters and has them interact with the same kind of entity or whatever. The first season was Candle Cove, and it was wonderful. The second season of it is No End House. I'm not sure if it's done yet. I haven't been watching it recently because I've been busy. And the next one, well, one of them, is gonna be the stairs. The fucking stairs in the woods. And when I found that out, I was fucking losing my mind. And I said it to my friend who told me about the story, and they were like, dude, it's tears in my eyes right now. God damn it, man. I love that story so much. I was not shutting up about it for, like, a few days after I read it. I was like, guys, can I tell you guys about, like, these stairs? Yo, man. I'm gonna go always look for some stairs. Oh, God, I was so distracted. God damn it. Oh, God, I love horror. I have seen the Sunny Family Cult series. I loved it. I love Stranger Things. I have been... Do you guys know Nightmind? My friend is absolutely in love with his stuff. We got together and we just watched his, like... The Stairs. Honestly, that's how it is. Ugh, Sunny Family Cult was so fucking freaky. I'm trying to look for a song. That's a mood, man. I'm not gonna give spoilers, but I love the demon dogs, but I hate them for who they killed. Season 2 was really good. Okay, let's listen to Monica number 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, Monica number 5.
I've also been, recently I've been thinking about SCP shit a lot, and I just, oh my god.
1, 2, 3,
SCP is
4,
really cool.
5. Everybody in the
In
car,
fact,
so come
in
on,
this-
let's ride to the liquor store around the corner. The boy said they want some gin and
I love
juice,
this
but
guy.
I really don't wanna be buzzed
Honestly,
like
Clockwork,
last
same.
week. I'm
Oh,
not
Smile Pop.
saying because talk is cheap, but like Monica,
SCPs are so good.
Monica, Monica, and as I continue, you know they get sweeter.
Smiley man.
Can I do? I really beg you, Monica. To me, Friday is
God, I was
just
totally,
sport. Anything bad, it's
I was
all
totally into the
don't be presenting the trumpet.
really
A little bit of Monica in my life.
a little bit of Monica.
By my side. A little bit of Monica's all I need.
Just Monica, no one else.
Monica's what I
Not allowed.
see. A little bit of Monica in the sun. A little bit of Monica all night long. A little bit of Monica, here I am. A little bit
Good,
of you makes
as it
me
should
your
be.
man.
My absolute favorite is the IKEA. Oh, what? Oh, I didn't see anything.
Jump up and down and move it all around. Shake the sound.
You got mad at Bob?
Take one step left.
He didn't know what was going on. He just thought he was having bad thoughts. I loved Sayori. He didn't know what was going on. He's like, you gotta stand up to your anxieties, dude. He didn't know it meant actual monsters, man. Little bit of Monica. This man, all goddamn wiggly gaggly. What's up, this guy? Bro, you good? Were you good? You need some assistance?
Trumpet. Monica number 5.
I remember
A little bit of Monica in my
Joyce.
a little bit of Monica by my side.
Joyce deserves the world. But I'm so sorry. Who is your guys's, or is your guys's favorite creepypasta character? Cause like, I remember when I was younger, and I was like a big horror lover, and I was like, God damn, I love Ben Drown. It's just the most interesting to me because there's also the ARG with it, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? There's a cult. Oh, wow. That's so cool. They're all really iconic, and I just adore them. But my favorite, yeah, Toby. Actually, I haven't read his thing. I don't know a lot about him. I know like a lot of people draw him. He seems neat. I know Clockwork. Smile Puppy. I adore the your own. Hello. Oh, go. Bert? Hi, Bert. What's up, Bert? 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 Bert. Bert. Ben Drown is best. I love Ben Drown so much. I goddamn don't know why. This is my favorite one. Zalgo. I didn't really know what Zalgo was. I just saw like 1999. God fucking damn it, that one freaked me out so much with like the bear dude. I was like, oh god. I remember in school, because I go to like a special kind of art, digital art, or I focus on animation in it. But since me and one of my best friends, we have our computers next to each other, we listen to stuff together. And we were listening to 1999, like, in class doing our work, and we were just freaking out, man. Motaro mashup. Oh, that's okay. I don't mind, man. Happy Appy was fucking weird. I adored it. I'm just looking for a... Ew, look what you made me do. I'm not gonna click that. Let's see. You guys seen Petscop? I've been losing my shit. I adore it. I adore Petscop. Russian sleep experiment. It's the most iconic. Salad Fingers is not a creepypasta, but he's scary as hell. And I love him. Before I do the more details on this little man, I'd like to see what little shading I can do. The cat. Sounds familiar. I don't think I've... Well. So how about, this house has people in it, huh? Dude, analyze it? You mean like game theory guy? Film theory guy? Cause Small Dog's pretty freaky, but I thought he was cute. Just a puppy, man. Telpa! Telpa was really good. Alright, yeah, Matt Pat. The creator of Salad Fingers actually responded to what he said and said, yeah, it was all, that was just completely not even close. And it made me laugh because I thought the theory was kind of fun. And why did you do that, Pudding? Yeah, he said everything was wrong. It made me laugh really hard. Theory was fun, though. Cat Ghost! Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. I've been thinking a lot about... You know This house has people in it? I adore it. 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 I've been losing my mind about it ever since it came out, and... Oh my gosh, it's so scary. Yeah, that's right, the little games you can play. Horror fun! What do you think my character is in Eldritch Horror? Oh, thank you, man. His name, actually, I didn't come up with his name. I had the colors and I had like the character design, but then my friend's like, he looks like taro bread, and I'm like, that's it! That's it! Taro! Nina the... Vaguely. That was like... That one that person shipped with Jeff, right? That's all I really know. Social media? Yes, I have quite a few. I have... What kind of ones were you thinking of? I can give you them. Bjark. Swedish dog. Bjark. Monica, 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 Monica. How dare you? How dare you? Bjark. Swedish dog, Bjark. Deviantart? Yeah, it's Okami Wolvenart. Okay, Clockwork. Oh my god, Marble Hornets is so good. I have been fucking keeping up with that since I first saw it like years ago, and I've been like, just, oh my god. I love it so much. Yeah, my DeviantArt is... See all my cursed images there. It is so good. I loved him. I loved him. I loved him because I'm basic and I loved him. Picture this. Can't take ARG seriously anymore. What's wrong? Picture this. It sounds really familiar. Vincent Vicava! Sorry. I love Vincent Ficava! Oh my gosh, his story, like the devil one, that one made me lose my shit because it was really good. Oh, yeah, I know Steve Gunner. He had an ARG? Bend your elbow? Jesus. I'm so sorry, man. Candle Cove is iconic, just for real. Mr. Creepypasta! I love him so much! He's really cute! I didn't know he was so cute. My pan ass shaking. Why he's so cute. Hmm. It's not good. I don't think you should be able to do that, man. Wait, what do you mean, bend? Like, I have not seen what Creepypasta looks like. Mr. Creepypasta I have seen, because he's very, very pretty and did that face reveal, and I lost it because he's just such a sweetie. Good little British boy! He did? Oh, I need to look it up. Face. Okay, I'm looking it up. Is he the one with the Batman shirt? Oh my god, he's so cute! Why is he so cute? Aw. What a sweetheart. Book update. Shivering in my boots. This is how it be sometimes. God, I cannot stop. Have you seen Everyman Hybrid? I honestly think it was just wonderful. Everyman Hybrid was wonderful. And it had the rake! It had the rake in it! And I was like, ah, the rake! I like monsters. I like monsters a lot. One, two, three, four, five. Everybody in the club, come on, let's die with. That one's good. I know Human Centipede. God damn it. I watched that with my brother and his best friend. We were having a terrible, terrible time. I don't know what I'm doing right here. Make it a little bit more softer. Tribe 12! Tribe 12! I love the... God, say what you will. I love the Slenderverse shit. It's so fun. I liked Everyman Hybrid because it had really good ARG with it. Tribe 12 was awesome. I didn't watch all of Everyman Hybrid because there was just way too much, and I was like, oh god. So I watched the Nightmind kind of recount of it, and then I watched the really iconic ones while I was drawing. It was really cool. What's going on? What am I doing? 3 years of Marble Hornets. Okay. I have a, on my tumblr.org, I follow, like, Tim. Like, actually Tim, and he's just really fucking funny. He's so good, I love Tim. Tim is really funny. I'm glad he's still kicking and making his own stuff. I wonder how Jay's doing. Troy. It's just really nice. I think we all know that the best character in Marble Hornets. Him and Jay did some gameplays. Aw, that's so good. Best Marble Hornets character is Seth's dog. He brought my dog when no one else would. He was brought when no one else was. May he play ball in a park somewhere. He's not dead, he's fine. I love that dog. My family's been stuck for 4 years. That sounds really familiar. There's one I listened to really recently, and it was like, it's about some dude in like a cleaning kind of business, and he did crime scene cleanup sometimes. And there's a really, really creepy ass. Oh, hi, Tia. What up? I've been creepypasting since I can remember, man. I feel like my I remember the Pastel Man, that chalky blue bitch. I remember that. If you haven't already, please watch Channel Zero. Please, it's so good. It was so awesome the first season because it was fucking Candle Cove. And they actually made the puppets and like reenacted the show. Dear David was good. Dear David's really good. Chalky blue bitch. Yeah, I remember that guy. Remember that asshole? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody in the club can come on, let's die with it. I dared my best friend to ruin my life. Oh god, all these ones I have to listen to now. Oh. God damn, I'm so glad y'all like creepypasta. They're fun. Creepypasta fun. I don't care what anyone says. I adore any scary shit, any horror shit, any god damn yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Tears in my damn eyes, I love scary. Queen Justine. You know, let's listen to some right now. Let me see if I can find one. Let's see, anybody got a suggestion? Preferably one that you've already listened to, because I'm gonna be talking over it. I die, lol. Same. Are you okay? Oh my god, my best friend never happened! Oh my god, that one was so good! Like, when she starts turning into goop, I'm like, what? I can't do SP Blue Edition. Dear Abby. Dear Abby. Creepypasta. Oh god, yeah. Mr. Creepypasta! There's an ad for Insidious. I'm gonna see it.
Dear Abby, we've never met before, so this may seem a little bit odd, but I feel it's necessary. My name's Jay, for starters. I work for the checkout line at the grocery store up on the 67th
Dear Abby.
Street. You know, the one with the parking lot that's way too big for the store itself? Yeah, that one. I'm 24, fairly tall. I have a rather scraggly appearance. You probably wouldn't recognize me if I came up to talk to you.
Shit.
I don't have a very memorable face.
Does he have a
I don't
face?
really know why I'm telling you all this, to be honest, but this isn't the point of me writing to you. I was working late at night yesterday. It was a very average day for the most part. Nothing too exciting happened, but you'd be surprised how
I was surprised how what?
interesting this job can get at times. I'd been reading some books. The guy that worked the counter the shift before me had left. There was some really crappy murder mystery, chock full of cliches. Incredibly boring, if you ask me, but it's something to do, I guess. When you showed up, though, my whole night changed. I don't know exactly what it was about you that caught my attention at first, but as soon as I saw you, I got this odd feeling. A weird mix between excitement and terror.
Me when I
That's
see
the
a
best way I
monster.
can describe it, at least. I saw you walk into my line, and I quickly composed myself. I had been slouching down in my chair for a while, since I rarely ever get anyone in my line. It was only when you got closer that I
This is so
realized
good.
what about you had caught my attention. You were absolutely beautiful. You walked up and said, "Hey," and handed me your cart. And I could tell by the way that you were talking and the way that you looked that you were very sleep deprived. Though this wasn't surprising considering how late it was. After a second or two of awkward silence, I realized that you greeted me. I suddenly forced myself out a hi in response. I cursed myself mentally for that one.
So sweet, but I know it's not gonna
I
end
sat
up
there
sweet.
for a second trying to focus. What's your name? I said. It's only later I realized how odd that must have seemed. What kind of a grocery bag guy asks what someone's name is? I'm glad I did, though, because I remember you said that your name was Abigail. But that you go by Abby, for short. Abby. It seemed to fit so perfectly. The name seemed to roll off my tongue as I said it back to myself silently. It was like sweet honey. Just felt so good as I said it. You seemed to be perplexed when I looked back at you, and I wondered if I'd done something to upset you. Shouldn't you be packing those? You said, and pointed to your groceries, and suddenly shocked and embarrassed, I looked up and apologized and clumsily started to shove groceries into bags as fast as I could. I couldn't believe myself. How stupid could I be? But when I looked up, I realized you were laughing. You're kind of cute, you said. I tried to play it off cool, but I was obviously thrilled. A girl like this thought I was cute. You are too, I said, as I hastily packed the rest of the groceries. As you walked out, you turned around, as you reached the door and said, "Have a good night." I'm guessing I look pretty stupid writing all this down, and you probably still remember it. I mean, it did just happen yesterday, but I went home ecstatic that night, and with all the confidence in the world, I felt like it's almost unreal writing it back here. Anyways, I wanted to write you this letter, Abby, to tell you that
Hey, Minnie.
I love you.
Oh.
I don't know what it was I felt that night. It was some weird mix of emotions, but all I know was that even in that small little transaction we had, I felt as if there was something between us. Please write me back. Sincerely, Jay. Dear Abby, it's been a week since I sent my last letter, and I still haven't gotten a response, but
Oh no.
that doesn't matter. How have you been? My life's been just as normal as usual. Get up, go to work, go to bed. I live in a really shitty apartment, but I guess that's what you get when you work as a grocery bag clerk. I've thought about you a lot lately, and sometimes wonder if you still remember me. I saw you again today at work. This time, it was a more reasonable hour, thankfully. I didn't want to bother you to see if you'd approach me on your own. You came to my line again, which made me absolutely thrilled. And this time, I was less nervous. I was going to act normal no matter what you did or said. I wasn't going to let a girl like you slip through my fingers. As you walked up, you muttered something that was too quiet for me to make out, and waited at the end of the counter for me to finish packing your bags. This obviously wasn't what I expected, but it wasn't all too bad. I mean, you didn't seem to feel anything at all, actually. I was expecting you to either come up, talk to me, or avoid me like the plague, but instead you just walked on through, as if I was another stranger. Yeah. This made me wonder if you got my last letter. You should check your mailbox more often. There was one moment when I felt something, though. I looked over briefly to see what you were doing, and at the same time you seemed to look up at me and see how far along I was. And right then our eyes locked. Only for a second. Or two. But in those 2 seconds, I saw so much more in you than I'd seen last time. I felt as if I had known you for years. Like I knew all your intricate feelings and emotions. Did you feel anything like that with me? Shortly after, I'd finished packing your bags and you paid and walked out. Obviously, this was a pretty normal process for me, considering I do it about 50 times every day. But I had been determined since the last night I wrote you that letter that the next time I saw you, I was going to get more out of it. I kind of screwed that one up. I wasn't satisfied with it. I had to have more. There's a little room in the very back left corner of the grocery store designed for staff. And in there, though I knew they kept all the security footage from the day, all the staff are informed of this and the security cameras, locations, they're hired, luckily for me, there's one position right next to my counter. I waited until the store closed up and everybody left, and then I went in there. After flipping through a few of the TV screens, I found the one that was connected to the camera by my counter, and I rewound it until about when I remember you coming in, and after a few minutes of scanning, I found it. I mean, there you were. I paused it on the best still shot I could find. I knew the camera wouldn't do you justice, but it was the best that I could have for now. Having a longer look at you, I realized how truly perfect you were. Every feature of your body, your hair, your face, your legs, your chest, was just perfection. I rewound the tape to when you first came up to my line a few times. I couldn't help myself. My eyes were just glued to the screen. And after a few minutes of consideration, I popped out the tape, shoved it into my pocket, and then drove home. I mean, I knew I wasn't allowed to. I could very well be fired for taking such actions, but I couldn't help myself. I had to have you with me all times. Even if that meant me losing my job. Abby, I love you. I love everything about you. I think about you constantly now. Do you feel the same way about me, Abby? I just want us to be together. Forever. Right back soon. Yours truly, Jay.
Boy, this guy freaky.
Dear Abby, it's been 3 days and I still haven't gotten a reply. I don't know why don't you want to talk to me? I'm still unsure if you got my last 2 letters, so please tell me if you have. So I got fired from my job. They found the missing tape. I got a call from the store owner, my boss, at 6 a.m. on Monday, and was told to come in immediately. They were having a mandatory all-staff meeting. And when I got there, all the staff were gathered around a small table with the owner at the head of it. And Once everybody had arrived, he told us that apparently there'd been a minor robbery yesterday, they'd have about $200 worth of stuff taken from them, and the one tape that would have shown who the culprit was the one that I had taken. Just my luck. Well, he told us that no one was going to leave the room until someone confessed. After a few minutes, I finally gave in, told him everything about how I felt as if me and you had some sort of connection, and after explaining the whole story, the entire room was just like staring at me wide-eyed. After I finished, I sat there in silence for several seconds, and suddenly the store owner broke the tension. "Jay, you're fired. Get out of here now and don't come back," he said. Well, I did as I was told, got out of there as fast as I could. Then, that stupid prick, he always treated me like shit. I mean, he's been on my case since the day I got the job. I swear, he's been waiting for me to do one little thing that could justify firing me. And the one time I slip up, he finds out. Why didn't he understand, though? I mean, doesn't he get that you and I are just meant for each other? Any rational man would be able to understand.
Really cute to really
I mean, anyone
creepy.
put in my situation would have done the same thing, right? Now, I've been searching you up a lot lately. With no job, I have all the time in the world to spend learning about you. Do you know how much you can find out about someone with just a first name and town of residence? Well, I found out that your last name is Merritt. I mean, what a beautiful name, Abby Merritt. I can't help but say it aloud whenever I think about you. I also found out that you're 24. You only live a mile away from me. I drove down to your apartment complex today. It looks really nice. I mean, much nicer than where I live. I asked to see you multiple times, but I was told that you weren't there every time. I felt more and more discouraged every time, but I was determined to see you again. After a few hours of asking, I
Yes,
decided to stay
Sirloin.
back in the parking lot for a while,
Pasta
wait for you to
baby.
come back, and after many hours of waiting, you did. It was late at night, around 10, I believe. I saw you pull your car up and get out, a sudden rush of warmth at seeing your face again. I know I have the security camera tape to look at, but it doesn't compare to seeing you in real life. I made sure to record it for later when I was at home, this time with a much higher quality camera. I wanted to capture as much detail as possible. I didn't know the next time that I would see you, and the security tape wasn't enough for me anymore. I asked the woman at the front desk multiple times what your room number was, but she refused to tell me. She thought I was some kind of creep. Now, see, Abby, these people don't understand us. They don't understand what we feel for each other. I ended up waiting in the parking lot a little while longer until someone came out. After talking to him for a bit, he told me what your apartment number was. He didn't want to talk at first, but I made him. You'd be surprised what you can make people tell you when you hold a knife to their chest. But don't worry. I mean, I didn't hurt him too bad. But you can't have somebody interfering with us. And don't you agree, Abby? I'm sick of all these people trying to keep us apart.
Yeah, Ross.
I ended up
Go.
watching you from the
You're
parking lot
mad.
for a while.
No, this is
Once I found out your room number and how
Creepypasta,
the
bro.
rooms in this complex
Just
were
listening to
organized,
mine.
I mean, it wasn't hard to locate it. You should be more careful about shutting your blinds, you know? I was easily able to watch you from the parking lot.
Fuck.
I couldn't get you out of my head anymore, ever. All I do is watch that video I took of you over and over. Abby, I want to be with you forever.
I trust
I
you,
want to wake
Ross.
up in the morning to see you next to me in bed. I can't wait until the next time I see you again. Love, Jay. Dear Abby, I have some really exciting news, Abby. I'm moving in with you. I mean, aren't you excited? We can spend hours and hours and hours together. It'll just be perfect.
Hi,
Let me explain.
wolves.
My job
God.
paid just enough
Going on?
so I can make rent and pay for food every week. Because of this, I had little to no money in savings. Nowhere near enough to last a very long time. Well, when you take that money flow away, it doesn't take very much time until you have nothing left. So, I was able to get by for a few days, but just today, I got evicted. This could actually be better than I originally thought. I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if that guy that gave me your room number has been able to contact the police by now. This way, they won't be able to find me, and we get to spend all the time in the world together. It's perfect, isn't it? I made sure to bring all my tapes and photos that I've taken with me, though, and cameras, of course. You should really tell whoever manages your apartment complex to get better staff. I was able to get by security easily. I mean, I went up to your room, knocked on your door. I got no answer, so I decided to just get in by other means. After scanning the footage that I took of the last few nights over a few times, I noticed that
I love this.
you have a
holy
ventilation
shit.
shaft in the corner of your room. I mean, not surprising considering how hot it can get in the summer here. But I figured that there had been some kind of maintenance hatch that I could get in through. Well, after a few minutes of looking around, I found a door at the end of your hall that seemed to be some kind of staff room. And luckily, there's a way into the vents there. So I crawled through them until I got to your room. It was very cramped and hard to move around in, but I managed it. And when I got there, though, I felt a rush of success. I figured, since the lights were out and I couldn't see you, that you weren't home, but I'm patient. I scanned every part of your room, trying to memorize all the intricate details. Your scent overwhelmed me as I sat there. I'd caught it briefly during the 2 times I saw you at the store, but never this strong. It's mesmerizing. I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but it reminded me of something. It's almost like peaches. And I sat there, hunched over for a few hours, though. I've taught myself to be extremely patient. I can sit completely motionless for hours at a time, not moving a muscle. No one was going to notice me. And then, you finally got home. I felt a wide smile form on my face the second I heard the door open. I mean, there you were, my love. Of course, you took no notice of my presence. The light in your room seemed to be angled perfectly so you couldn't see anything in the vent. After the first few inches...
Hey, Clockwork.
After the first few inches. I tried to contain my excitement, but I started breathing very heavy. I tried to cover it up as best I could, but it was hard. You suddenly looked right at the vent. I went completely silent. After a few seconds, though, you seemed to lose interest, and this made me smile. This was the perfect spot. I could tell that I'd startled you, though. All throughout the night, you were turning over in your sleep to look at the vent. People seem to have a sense for when they're being watched, and it can send them into a complete panic. Don't try to fake it, Abby. I can tell when someone's awake, when someone's truly scared. Sleep becomes impossible. I mean, why are you so scared anyway? I mean, it's just me. Why would I scare you? You do love me, right? You know I love you. I'm looking forward to spending every day with you now, Abby. Right back if you can. Love, Jay.
Ugh.
Dear Abby, I saw you wake up this morning. I didn't sleep a wink last night. You were too enthralling. I spent the whole night watching you.
It's called Dear Abby.
I couldn't help it. Anytime I tried to look away, my eyes seemed to be drawn back a few seconds later. You look even more amazing when you're sleeping, you know. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about a person's personality by watching them sleep. I was tempted to get out of the vent to get a better view multiple times. But I resisted the urge. I couldn't have you figuring out I'm here. I mean, not yet, at least. You seem to spend a lot of time in your bathroom in the morning. I assume that you're taking a shower, putting on makeup. Why would you do that, Abby? I mean, anything that you could do to change the way you naturally look would only cover up your true beauty. Why would you want to do that? Don't you want the whole world to see what I see in you? I mean, you left shortly after to work, or at least that's what I assumed. After careful consideration, I decided to leave the vent. I slid my hand through one of the slits, felt around for one of the bolts. The surface of the vent was very smooth, which made it very easy to find. Well, I grabbed onto one, twisted it as hard as I could, finally was able to get it to pop off. I did this with all the other bolts, and finally removed the grating. The first thing I did was go over to the bathroom. I quickly disposed of everything that I could find that you could use to mask your face. I mean, that stuff disgusts me. Well, this way, everyone will get to see you how I truly see you. I also found something else in there. Your hairbrush. Well, I grabbed it, brought it close up to my face to examine it. It was a dull blue with a very thick, rounded handle. But that wasn't what interested me. The hairs. And that's what made me so interested. I took a good few minutes to pull every one of them that I could see out, line them up on your counter, and I counted them. I'd gotten 59. This pleased me greatly. I quickly scooped them up, put them in my pocket. I spent the rest of the day going through your stuff to learn more about you, your interests and such, and I take it that you're a big movie fan. I found your collection in the back of your closet. I have to say, it's quite impressive. Yet, I found something else in there that made me quite mad. Picture of you with another man. It disgusted me just looking at him, holding you like he owned you. I'm the only one that can have you, Abby. No one else. At 8:30, I considered starting to get back into the vent, since usually that's about the time you get back from work. Then I had another idea. I looked at your bed. The blankets hung low enough to the floor that you couldn't see underneath the bed unless you lifted it up. I first screwed the vent grating back on and slowly slid under with a smile on my face and waited for you to get home. And when you finally came in, it looked completely pale. And I noticed someone else came in behind you. They were talking to you about hearing noises coming from your room throughout the day. And I mentally yelled at myself. I would need to be more careful from now on. Going under the bed had been a good idea, though, since obviously your first thought was to check the vent. And you thanked the person and they left. Finally, you and I were alone. I sat there in silence until you went to bed. It seemed to be an eternity before you did. I wanted to get a closer look at you tonight. And this was my chance. You got in bed, turned off the lights. I was cautious, though. I waited for hours to make sure that you were asleep. And when I was sure you were, I slowly slid out from under the bed. And I saw you there. You looked absolutely stunning. Every curve of your body was perfect. Every detail was beautiful. I was in awe just looking at you. And I reached out my hand and I started to stroke your face. Oh, it was so soft, like silk. Suddenly, you seemed to turn and started to wake up. Horrified, I quickly slid back underneath your bed, trying to be as quiet as possible. A few seconds, I saw you get out of bed and look around. I could sense your fear, even without looking at you. You should feel calm with me around you, Abby. I'll protect you. No one would ever touch you but me. I'd kill someone for you, Abby. I made sure to pay attention today. You didn't bring in my letter from yesterday, or any mail at all. I mean, you must not check your mailbox. I'm going to change that, though. I'm going to leave this one on your desk tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to mention. I'm making something special for you. Check your closet after you read this. Yours forever, Jay. Dear Abby, I've spent more time today working on the surprise while you were at work. You're gonna love it, Abby. I've put a lot of work into it. I spent a few hours today putting the finishing touches on it, and I think it's finally ready for you to see. You got home at 8:30 again, and I saw the letter lying on your desk. Almost immediately. I started to smile as I saw you open it, waiting for your reaction. It was quite interesting watching your face. I could see all your different emotions and thoughts, and you seemed to be confused at first. And then shocked. And then horrified, and you started to shake violently, and I saw that you were starting to cry. Don't you love me, Abby? Why were you crying? Don't you love me? Abby, don't you love... Everything about that was a blur. You looked over to the closet while still sobbing, and you seemed to be contemplating whether or not to open it, and instead, you ran past it and out the door. When you came back, you had all my letters in your hand, and you started going through them. At some point, you seemed to break down and curl up on the floor, tears still rolling down your face. I could tell that you were desperately trying to say something, anything. But you were paralyzed in fear. After about 10 minutes, I saw you look under the bed, in the vent, anywhere that I could be. You see, though, Abby, I'm smarter than that. I knew that you'd look in those places. I found a better place after I finished your surprise. You'll never find me here. No one will. Isn't it great? I can watch you forever and ever, and there's nothing you or anybody else can do about it. You hadn't found your surprise yet, though, Abby, and I could tell you were still thinking about it. I saw you look over to the closet. I knew you wanted to open it, but at the same time, you were nervous. What was going to be in it? What would you find? This couldn't last forever, though. You and I both knew that. I watched you slowly walk over to your closet, fumbling with the handle, trying to get a firm grip on it. Suddenly, you flung the doors open and saw it. It was a scrapbook of you and me. I saw you flipping through the pages. You seemed to be shocked. Do you not like it, Abby? I got the pictures of you and I when you weren't looking. Pictures of you sleeping, pictures of you at your computer. I scattered the hairs I'd collected throughout it, along with pictures of couples together. Of course, with our faces on them, though. I got that picture of you with the other guy and put it at the very back, except I didn't leave it like it normally was. I scratched that little prick's face off because I hate him so much. If I knew who he was, I would hunt him down. I would make him suffer. Don't you get it, Abby? No one can have you but me. You and me are meant for each other. No one else. I watched you sob for another 30 minutes and then get up and then run out of your apartment. Shortly after, you came back with multiple policemen. And this shocked me. Did you not like the surprise? I mean, why would you bring these people into our room? They'll never find where I am. But if they did, it would ruin everything. All my work for the last few weeks would be for nothing. You wouldn't want that, right, Abby? I'm exhausted from today's work, and as much as I love you, I need sleep, Abby. Have a good night. I love you. Love, Jay. Dear Abby, do you see what you've done, Abby? Do you see what you've done? I woke up at 8 a.m. to see you frantically packing your bags. I was confused at first, but then I understood. You were leaving me. You don't love me. You don't love me. How could you do this to me, Abby? You were the only thing I wanted in life, and I had nothing else to live for. But when I first met you, I saw a shimmer of hope. I thought that I'd finally have a reason to wake up in the morning and go on with my shitty life, and you went and threw that away. How could you do this to me, Abby? A few seconds after you left your room, I got out of my hiding spot and I followed behind you. I saw you throw your bags in the back and then get in your car and start it. I wasn't gonna let you get away. I would never let that happen. I ran as fast as I could to your car and smashed out the window and dragged you out. Did you really think that you could get away from me, Abby? I had to hit you over the head and knock you out. You were making too much noise. Everyone that doesn't understand could have seen and ruined everything. Well, I had a plan for you if you react like this. I drove out to the storage unit at the edge of town that I had reserved a slot the day I decided to move in with you. I drove up, unlocked it, I grabbed you, carried you inside with me. It had only been a few minutes, so you were still unconscious, and I made sure to check through your pockets, make sure you didn't have your cell phone with you. I set you down at the very back of the small room. Then I got in, lowered the door. I called the owner of the storage unit and told him that I had visited my lot the other day and forgotten to lock it, and asked him if he would mind locking it for me. Of course, he said yes. I hung up. Then threw the phone on the ground, stomped on it, to make sure that it'd never work again. Shortly later, I heard the owner come up, lock the door. About an hour later, I saw you start to get up. I first heard a very faint grunt. I saw your legs start to move, and shortly after, you were fully awake. When you saw my face, you started to scream, which then subsided to a whine and then to a whimper. That's when you saw it. One other thing in the room. My knife. It was obvious why it was there, and after a second or two of realization, you jumped and grabbed it. I looked you dead in the eyes and said, Abby, I love you. And then I felt the searing pain of the knife being driven into my side. I felt it being pulled out and jabbed back in with great force. I could feel it go in each time, like a fire burning a hole through my chest. I fell to the floor, laughing, while coughing up blood. I saw you back away trembling and sit down in the corner, and now as I sat here in a puddle of my own blood, writing this, I wonder how you'll go out. Will you use the knife to take your own life? Or will you let starvation take you? Either way, we'll be together. In death, Abby. Together from the day I saw you to the day we both died. Just as I wanted it. And as you sit there, crying, I could tell you've come to the realization, Abby, this is all I ever wanted. And for that, I have to say, thank you. Love, Jay.
Just to state a couple things before this starts. These entries are all written by the same person. There will be a transition on screen between each story. I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been a search and rescue officer for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think you guys will be interested in. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time they just wander off the path or slip down a small cliff and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old "stay where you are" thing and they don't wander off, but I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time, both the kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked her where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while, and that's the last she saw of her brother. He was riding on the shoulders of the bear man and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in the area. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched the area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she'd never come back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name before they called for help. Again, we searched everywhere, and we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly gone, because neither her mother or grandpa saw her come down. A few times, I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs. Not hills, not even rock faces. Straight, sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling, and in those cases we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff, or miles away from where the canine had led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down but the closer we got to the base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him fine, and when he'd gotten to the top, a man had been there. He said the guy had no climbing equipment, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said he had no face. It was just blank. He freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen. He said he could hear the guy all night climbing down the mountain and letting out the most horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search for a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and her backpack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to the base. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to the base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She said she wasn't going to go with him, and she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't know how to describe it. When we were within sight of base, the woman turns to me and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human being can open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says it, I hear that weird coughing right in my ear, and I just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left that area that night. Alright, this is the last one I'll tell for now, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every search and rescue unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other search and rescue officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point, we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it and that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very seriously that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. I have a lot more stories, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some of them tomorrow. If anyone has any theories about the stairs, or if you've seen them too, let me know. So I logged back on tonight and was blown away by the staggering amount of interest this seems to have generated. First off, I'll address a few things that you guys have brought up. There's been an overwhelming amount of people mentioning the similarity between some of my stories and those of David Paulides. I assure you I'm not trying to rip him off in any way. I've got nothing but respect for the guy. He's actually what inspired me to write this because I can verify a lot of the things that he talks about. We do have a lot of these strange missing persons cases, and most of the time they aren't solved. Either that, or we find them in places they have no business being in. I personally haven't been on many calls like that, but I'll share a few that I've seen, and a story my friend told me that relates to this. There was a lot of feedback about the stairs, so I'll touch on that briefly here, and I'll also include a story. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes, styles, and conditions. Some are pretty dilapidated, just ruins, but others are brand new. I saw one set that looked like they came from a lighthouse. They were metal and spiral, almost old-fashioned. The stairs don't go up infinitely, or farther than I can see, but some sets are taller than others. Like I said before, just imagine the stairs in your house, as if someone cut and pasted them in the middle of nowhere. I don't have any pictures personally. It's never really occurred to me to try again after the first time, and I don't really feel like risking my job over it, but I'll try again in the future. I can't really promise anything. A few people expressed confusion about the guy who ran into the man with no face. Just to clarify, when the climber ascended and reached the top of this peak, he saw another man in a parka and ski pants. This was the man with no face. Sorry about the confusing wording of that story. I'll try to avoid that in the future. Alright, now on to the news stories. As far as missing persons go, I'd say about half the calls I get are related to that. The others are rescue calls, people who fall down cliffs and hurt themselves, get injured by fire. You wouldn't believe how often this happens, mostly drunk kids. get bitten or stung by animals or insects. We're a tight team, and we have veterans who are excellent at finding signs of lost people. That's what makes these cases where we never find any trace of them so frustrating. One in particular was upsetting for all of us because we did find a trace of them, but it just led to more questions than answers. An older man had been hiking alone on a well-established trail, but his wife called to say that he hadn't come home when he should have. Apparently, he had a history of seizures, and she was worried that he hadn't taken his medication and had suffered one out on the trail. Before you ask, I have no idea why he thought it was okay to go out alone, or why she didn't go with him. I don't ask about that kind of thing because past a certain point, it really doesn't matter. Someone is missing, and it's my job to find them. We went out in our standard search formation, and it wasn't long before one of our vets found signs that the guy had gone off the trail. We grouped up and followed him, spreading out in a fan to make sure we were covering as much ground as possible. Suddenly, a call comes over the radio telling us to all head back to the vet's location, and we have to come right away, because this usually means the missing person is injured and we need a full team to help get them to safety. We meet back up, and the vet is just standing at the base of the tree with his hands on the side of his head. I ask my buddy what's going on, and he points up into the branches of the tree. I almost couldn't believe what I was seeing, but there's a walking stick dangling from a branch at least 30 feet off the ground. The little strap thing on the handle has been looped around the branch, and it's just hanging there. There's no way the guy could have tossed it up that far, and we don't see any signs that he's still in the area. We call up into the tree, but it's obvious no one's in it. We're all just sort of left scratching our heads. We keep searching for the guy, but we never find him. We even bring our canines out, but they lose his scent long before the tree. Eventually, the search is called off because there are other calls we have to attend to, and past a certain point, there's not much we can do. The guy's wife called us every day for months, asking if we'd found her husband, and it was heartbreaking to hear her get more and more hopeless each time. I'm not sure why this call in particular was so upsetting, but I think it was just the sheer improbability of it. That, and the questions that were raised. How the hell did this guy's cane end up there? Did someone kill him and toss that up there as some weird trophy? We did our best to find him, but it was almost like a taunt. We still talk about that one from time to time. Missing kids are the most heartbreaking. Doesn't matter what the circumstances they go missing under, it's never easy, and we always dread the ones that we find deceased. It's not common, but it does happen. David Paulides talks a lot about kids search and rescue teams find in places that they shouldn't be, or couldn't be. I can honestly say I've heard about this kind of thing happening more than I've seen it, but I'll share one of the ones that I think about a lot that I witnessed personally. A mother and her 3 kids were out for a picnic in an area of the park that has a small lake. One is 6, one is 5, and the other is about 3. She's watching them all really closely, and according to her, she never lets them out of her sight at any time. She never saw anyone else in the area either, which is important. She packs their stuff up and they start to head back to the parking area. Now, this lake is only about 2 miles into the woods, and it's on a very clearly established trail. It's almost impossible to get lost from the parking area to it, unless you're deliberately going off the path like an imbecile. Her kids are walking in front of her when she hears what sounds like someone coming up the path behind her. She turns around, and in the 4 or so seconds she's not looking, her 5-year-old son vanishes. She figures he's stepped off the trail to go pee or something, and she asks her 2 other kids where he went. They both tell her that a big man with a scary face came out of the woods next to them, took the kid's hand, and led him into the woods. The 2 remaining kids don't seem upset. In fact, she says later that it seems like they've been drugged. They're sort of spacey and fuzzy. So of course, she freaks out, starts frantically looking around the area for her kid. She's screaming his name, and she says at one point she thinks she heard him answer her. Now, obviously she can't go blindly running into the woods. She's got the other 2 kids, so she calls the police and sends us out immediately. We respond and we start the search for him. Over the course of this search, which spans miles, we never find a single trace of the kid. The canines can't pick up any scent. We don't find any clothing or broken bushes or literally anything that would signify a child being out there. Of course, there's suspicion about the mother for a while, but it's pretty clear that she's completely destroyed by the whole thing. We look for this kid for weeks with a lot of volunteer help, but eventually the search peters out and we had to move on. The volunteers keep searching though, and one day we get a call on the radio letting us know that a body has been found and needs to be recovered. They tell us the location and none of us can believe it. We figure it has to be a different kid, but we go out there about 15 miles from the site where he vanished, and sure enough, we find the body of the kid we've been looking for. I have been trying to figure out how this kid got where he did ever since we found him, and I've never come up with an answer. A volunteer just happened to be in the area because he figured he might as well look in places no one else would think to on the off chance the body had been dumped. He comes to the base of a tall, rocky slope, and halfway up, he sees something. He looks through his binoculars, and sure enough, it's the body of a little boy stuffed in a little opening in the rock. He recognizes the color of the kid's shirt, so he knows right away that it's the missing boy. That's when he calls it in, and we're dispatched. It took us almost an hour to get his body down, and none of us could believe what we were seeing. Not only was this kid 15 miles from where he'd started, there was no possible way he could have gotten up there on his own. This slope is treacherous, and it's hard for even us to climb on it with our climbing gear. A 5-year-old boy had no way of getting up there, of that I'm certain. Not only that, but the kid doesn't have a scratch on him. His shoes are gone, but his feet aren't damaged or dirty, so it wasn't as if an animal dragged him up there. And from what I can tell, he hasn't been dead that long. He'd been out there over a month by that point, and it looked like he'd only been dead for, at most, a day or 2. The whole thing was unbelievably strange and was one of the most disconcerting calls I've ever been on. We found out later that the coroner determined the kid had died from exposure. He'd frozen to death. Probably late at night 2 days before we found him. There were no suspects and no answers. To date, it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. One of my first jobs as a trainee was a search op for a 4-year-old kid that had gotten separated from his mom. This was one of those cases where we knew we were going to find him because the dogs were on a strong scent trail and we saw clear signs that he was in the area. We ended up finding him in a berry patch about half a mile from where he'd been last seen. The kid wasn't even aware that he'd wandered off that far. One of the vets brought him back, which I was glad for because I'm not really good with kids, and I find it hard to talk to them and keep them company. As my trainer and I are headed back, she decides to take me on a detour to show me one of the hot spots where we tend to find missing people. It's a natural dip in the land near a popular trail, and people will usually move downhill because it's easier. We hike out there, it's a few miles away, and we get there in about an hour or so. As we're walking around the area, and she's pointing out places she's found people in the past, I see something in the distance. Now, this area we're in is about 8 miles from the main parking area, though there's back roads you can take to get closer if you don't want to hike that far. But we're on state protected land, which means there can't be any kind of commercial or residential development out here. The most you'll ever see is a fire tower or makeshift shelter that homeless people think they can get away with building. But I can see from here that whatever this thing is has straight edges, and if there's one thing you learn quickly, it's that nature rarely makes straight lines. I point it out, but she doesn't say anything. She just hangs back and lets me wander over and check it out. I get within about 20 feet of it, and all the hair on the back of my neck stands up. It's a staircase. in the middle of the fucking woods. In the proper context, it would literally be the most benign thing ever. It's just a normal staircase with beige carpet and about 10 steps tall. But instead of it being in a house, where it obviously should be, it's out here in the middle of the woods. The sides aren't carpeted, obviously, and I could see the wood it's made of. It's almost like a video game glitch where the house has failed to load completely and the stairs are the only thing visible. I stand there, and it's like my brain is working overtime to try to make sense of what I'm seeing. My trainer comes and stands next to me, and she just stands there casually, looking at it as if it's the least interesting thing in the world. I ask her what the fuck this thing is doing here, and she just chuckles. "Get used to it, rookie. You're gonna see a lot of them," she says. I start to move closer, but she grabs my arm. Hard. "I wouldn't do that," she says. Her voice is casual, but her grip is tight, and I just stand there looking at her. "You're gonna see them all the time, but don't go near them. Don't touch them, don't go up them, just ignore them." I start to ask her about it, but something in the way she's looking at me tells me that it's best if I don't. We end up moving on, and the subject doesn't come up again for the rest of my training. She was right though. I'd say about every 5th call I go on, I end up running across a set of stairs. Sometimes they're relatively close to the path, maybe within 2 or 3 miles. Sometimes they're 20, 30 miles out, literally in the middle of nowhere, and I only find them during the broadest searches or training weekends. They're usually in good condition, but sometimes it looks like they've been out there forever. All different kinds, all different sizes. The biggest I ever saw looked like they came out of a turn-of-the-century mansion and were at least 10 feet wide, with steps leading up at least 15 or 20 feet. I've tried talking about it with people, but they just give me the same response my trainer did. "It's normal. Don't worry about it. They're not a big deal, but don't go close to them or up them." When trainees ask me about it now, I give them the same response. I don't really know what else to tell them. I'm really hoping someday I get a better answer, but it hasn't happened yet. This is another one that was less spooky and more sad. A young man went missing late in winter when, realistically, no one should be going that far out onto literally impossible to get out, as she was, until she finally figured out what was wrong. I do remember this next part, because it was so weird that I don't think I could ever forget it if I tried. It wasn't a cat. It was a man saying the word meow over and over, but it wasn't a man. It couldn't have been, because I've never heard a man make his voice buzz like that. I thought my hearing aid was going out, but it wasn't. I adjusted it and it still sounded all buzzy. It was awful. He was coming closer, but I couldn't see him. And the closer he got, the more scared I was. And the last thing I remember was a shape coming out of the trees. I guess that's when I fainted. Now, after she said this, obviously I'm a little perplexed as to why a guy would be out in the fucking woods chanting meow at people. So once we get down the mountain, I tell my superior that I'm going to go search the area to see if I can find anything. He gives me the go-ahead and I grab a radio and hike back to where she fainted. I don't see anyone, so I keep going out about a mile more, and when I head back I go off the trail to see if I can figure out where she saw him coming from. It's almost sunset by this point, and I don't have any desire to be out at night alone. So I just sort of write it off and make a mental note to check it out again tomorrow. But as I'm headed back, I start to hear something in the distance. I stop, and I call out for anyone in the immediate area to identify themselves. The sound didn't come closer or get louder, but it sounded exactly like a man saying meow in this really odd monotone. As comical as it may sound, it was almost like that guy on South Park with the electrolarynx, Ned. I go off the trail in the direction I think it's coming from, but I never seem to get closer. It's almost like it's coming from all directions. Eventually, it just sort of fades out, and I ended up going back to the Welcome Center. I didn't get any further reports like that, and even though I went back to that area, I never heard that exact sound again. I suppose it could have been some stupid kid out there fucking with people, but even I have to admit, it was weird. Since it seems like all of you would like to hear more, tomorrow I'll write as much stories as I can, and I'll include my friends' stories, and I'll see if I can get a hold of a few more people who might have interesting things to talk about. Well, once again, you guys have blown me away with your staggering amount of responses to my stories. There's no way I can respond to each of you individually, so I'm just going to address some common things again, and then I'll move on to the stories. I'm going to write as much as I can think of in addition to my friends' stories, and I will probably not update again until I get a chance to answer some questions that I have myself for my superiors. Alright, so the common questions I found you all had. No, I'm not comfortable talking about where exactly I work, unfortunately. In all reality, some of the things I've mentioned here could get me in a lot of trouble or fired, so it's best if I don't discuss too much. I will say that I'm in the United States, and in an area that is comprised of a great deal of wilderness. We're talking hundreds of miles of thick forest with a mountain range and a few lakes. There is still a great amount of interest in the stairs, and luckily for you guys, my friend has a story that I think you'll all be very interested in. I'll go into that more at the end of this update. As for whether or not I have ever thought of asking my superiors about them, I have, but again, I don't want to risk my job. However, one of my former superiors no longer works as a search and rescue officer, and it's possible that he may be willing to talk to me about it. I'll be speaking to him later in the week, and I will let you all know what comes of that. As far as advice on becoming a search and rescue officer goes, I think the best advice I can give you is to contact your local Forest Service office and see if they offer any training courses or what the qualifications are. I've been doing this for years, and I started out as a volunteer helping on search and rescue operations. It's a great job despite the occasional tragic situations, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Alright, let's move on to the stories now. The first happened on a case that I went on right after I got out of training, and I was still pretty new to everything. Before I took this job, I was a volunteer, so I had a basic idea of what to expect. But on those calls, you're mostly dealing with finding lost people after vets have found signs of them. As a search and rescue officer, you go out for all kinds of cases, from animal bites to heart attacks. This case got called in early in the morning from a young couple who were up on one of the trails that goes by the lake. The husband was completely hysterical, and we couldn't really figure out what was going on. I have to take a second to compose myself. Of soil, and she trips. Most of the animals you'll see are the small ones like coyotes, raccoons, or skunks. What we do see frequently though are moose. And let me tell you, moose are nasty fuckers. They'll chase after anything for any reason, and God help you if you get in between a female and its baby. One of the more amusing calls was a guy who'd gotten chased down by an absolutely massive male moose and was stuck up in a tree. Took us almost an hour to get him down, and when he was finally on solid ground again, he looks at me and says, "God damn, them fuckers is big up close." I guess that's not really a scary story, but we still laugh about that one. I honestly don't know how I had forgotten this story, but it is, by far, the scariest thing that's happened to me. I guess maybe I've tried so long to forget about it that it just didn't come to mind right away. As someone who spends literally all of their time in the woods, you don't ever want to let yourself get scared of being alone, or out in the middle of nowhere. That's why when you have experiences like this, you tend to just forget about them and move on. This is, to date, the only thing that's ever made me seriously consider if this job is the right one for me. I don't really like talking about it much, but I'll do the best I can to remember it all. As I recall, this took place right at the end of spring. It was a typical lost child call. A 4-year-old girl had wandered away from her family's campsite and had been missing for about 2 hours. Her parents were completely despondent and told us what most parents do. My kid would never wander away. She's so good about staying close. She's never done anything like this before. We assure the parents that we'll do everything we can to find her, and we spread out in standard search formation. I was partnered with one of my good buddies, and we were sort of casually holding a conversation while we hiked. I know it sounds callous, but you do sort of become desensitized when you've done this long enough. It becomes the norm, and I think to a certain extent you have to learn to desensitize yourself in order to work this job. We search for a good 2 hours, going well beyond where we think she'd be, and we come out of a small valley when something makes us both stop in unison. We freeze and look at each other, and there's almost a sensation like a plane depressurizing. My ears pop and I have this odd sensation of having dropped about 10 feet. I start to ask my buddy if he felt that, but before I can, we hear the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. It's almost like a freight train passing directly by us, but it's coming from every direction at once, including above and below us. He screams something at me, but I can't hear him over this deafening roar. Understandably freaked out, we look all around us trying to find the source of the sound, but neither of us sees anything. Of course, my first thought is a landslide, but we're not near any cliffs, and even if we were, it would have hit us by now. The sound goes on, and we're trying to yell to each other, but even standing close together, we can't hear anything but this sound. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stops, like someone flipped a switch and cut it off. We stand there for a second, perfectly still, and slowly, normal sounds of the woods come back. He asks me what the fuck just happened, but I just kind of shrug, and we stand there looking at each other for a minute. I get on the radio and ask if anyone had just heard the end of the fucking world, but no one else hears it, even though we're all within shouting distance of each other. My buddy and I just sort of shrug it off and keep going. About an hour later, we all check up on the radios, and no one has found the little girl. Most of the time, we won't search when it gets dark, but because we don't have any kind of lead on her, a few of us decide to keep going, including me and my buddy. We keep close together and we're calling out for her every couple of minutes. At this point, I'm hoping beyond hope that we find her, because while I may not like kids, the idea of them being out all alone in the dark is awful. The woods can be intimidating to kids in the daylight. At night, well, it's a whole different beast. But we're not seeing any signs of her or getting any responses, and around midnight, we decide to turn around and head back to the rendezvous point. We're about halfway back when my buddy stops and shines his light to the right of us, into a really thick deadfall, or a group of dead trees. I ask him if he's heard a response, but he just tells me to be quiet for a second and listen. I do, and in the distance, I can hear what sounds like a kid crying. We both call the girl's name and listen for any kind of response, but it's just really, really faint crying. We head in the direction of this deadfall and go around it, calling her name over and over. As we get closer to the crying, I start getting this weird feeling in my gut, and I tell my buddy that something isn't right. He tells me that he feels the same way, but we can't figure out what it is. We stop where we are and call the girl's name again, and at the same time, we both figure it out. The crying is on a loop. It's the same little hitching sob, then wail, then quiet hiccup, repeated over and over. It's exactly the same every time, and without saying another word, we both take off running. It's the only time I've ever lost my composure like that, but something about it was just so incredibly wrong, and neither of us wanted to stay out there anymore. When we get back to the rendezvous, we ask if anyone else has heard anything strange, but no one else knew what we were talking about. I know it sounds sort of anticlimactic, but that call fucked me up for a long time. As for the little girl, we never found a trace of her. We keep an eye out for her and all the other people who we've never found, but frankly, I doubt we'll ever find anything. Of all the missing persons calls I've gone out on, only a handful have ever resulted in complete disappearance, meaning no trace of the person and no body was ever found. But sometimes, finding a body just leads to more questions than answers. Here's a list of some of the bodies we've found that have become infamous in our team. A teenage boy whose remains were recovered almost a year after he vanished. We found the top of his skull, 2 finger bones, and his camera almost 40 miles from where he was last seen. The camera, sadly, was destroyed. The pelvis of an older man who had vanished a month earlier, that was all we found. The lower jaw and right foot of a 2-year-old boy on the highest peak of a ridge in the southern part of the park. The body of a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome almost 20 miles from where she'd vanished. She had died of exposure 3 weeks after going missing, and all of her clothes were intact except for her shoes and jacket. There were berries and cooked meat in her stomach when they did the autopsy. The coroner said it appeared as if someone had been taking care of her. There were no suspects ever identified. The frozen body of a 1-year-old baby found a week after vanishing in the hollow trunk of a tree 10 miles from where he was last seen. There was fresh milk found in his stomach, but his tongue was gone. A single vertebrae and right kneecap of a 3-year-old girl found in the snow almost 20 miles from the campground her family had been at the previous summer. Now, on to a couple of the stories that my friend told me. I mentioned to him that you were all interested in the stairs, and you're in luck. He's had a closer encounter with them. Though he doesn't have an explanation for them, he does have a bit more experience with them than I do. My buddy has been a search and rescue officer for about 7 years. He started when he was a junior in college, and he had a very similar experience when he first encountered the stairs. His trainer told him almost the same thing mine did, which was to never go near, touch, or go up them. For the first year, he did just that, but apparently his curiosity got the better of him, and on one call, he broke away from the line and he went to go check a set of them out. He said they were about 10 miles from the path where a teenage girl had vanished, and the dogs were following a scent. He was on his own, lagging behind the main group, when he saw a set of stairs to his left. They looked like they were from a new house because the carpeting was pristine and white. He said that, as he got closer, he didn't feel any different or hear any weird noises. He was expecting something to happen, like bleeding from his ears or collapsing, but he got right up next to them and didn't feel anything. The only thing he said that was odd was that there was absolutely no debris on the steps. No dirt, leaves, dust, anything. And there didn't appear to be any signs of animal or insect activity in the immediate area, which he found strange. It was less like things were avoiding them and more like they just happened to be in a relatively barren part of the forest. He touched the stairs and didn't feel anything except that sort of sticky feeling you get from new carpet. Making sure his radio was on, he slowly climbed the stairs. He said it was terrifying because the way they'd been stigmatized, he wasn't really sure what was going to happen to him. He joked around that half of him expected to be teleported to some other dimension and the other half was watching for a UFO to come swooping down. But he got to the top with little event and he stood there looking around. But he said the longer he stood on the top step, the more he felt like he was doing something very, very wrong.
I'm back. I just want to say thank you all so much for coming. I gotta go have sushi lunch now with my friends. So then I'll finish the drawing, Ice. I'll finish it for you because I'm having a lot of fun drawing it. What is it? I have to go now. They're almost here. What do you want from me, Ice? Adios, muchachos. This was really fun. You can send it to me on, I don't know, because I'm going to post yours if you want, with your little guy. Little N. I will. Farewell. Bye. I'm sorry, Ice.